Welcome back to the Torque Test channel. This is something new. This is something a bit different. It's the DeWALT DCD1007 and it's not out yet, which is why this field test sample we got our hands on has no label or other markings outside of XR badging. It's set to be DeWALT's new flagship, top-of-the-line cordless drill sometime this year. And if you're watching this many months in the future, maybe it's on sale for you now. So we're going to break dyno test it and test its max watts out versus a close rival in the Milwaukee, take a look at some other tidbits here and there, and take it apart to see if its performance warrants our cloak and dagger methods to get prototypes on the channel. No, we don't work with brands like DeWALT. We got this without their knowledge, and yes, they've made it clear before that this sort of thing doesn't make them happy, but you know, oh well. Now, I'm not so sure if it's set to replace this DCD1009, up until now their top spec drill, but it is supposed to stomp it by all accounts, and it looks it too. It's a chunker, sort of like their recent DCF961 tree trunk of an impact wrench, but in drill form. What they've done is shrink down the length of the tool, which was needed. The 3-speed DCD998 and 999 drills are, in this day and age, long boys at 8.3 and 8.4 inches long. This new drill DeWALT coined the DCD1007, the James Bond pistol shooter of their lineup, is sporting 7.57 inches of length. Though unlike a Walther PPK, this has got a lot more junk in the trunk, which makes it stand out compared to, well, the very small Milwaukee Gen 4. Now keep in mind, this 1007 maintains a 3-speed gearbox, which was surprising to me that they kept, and pretty cool. And by our math, that more than accounts for the length difference you're seeing here. But that gearbox is girthy, so presumably stout as well. Modern punchy tools can be wrist torture devices, and this tool is DeWALT's first and long overdue drill to feature kickback protection, which they call Perform Protect. The size of that handle giving an indication of leverage that would be working against you otherwise, so good to see. The 3 speeds of this tool, which we've not seen published anywhere, we found to produce around 2000 RPM in high and 1200 RPM at medium or speed 2, and speed 1 is 470 RPM. Yeah, around 500, which is also surprising. I had sort of assumed, just looking at the tool, with 3 speeds to choose from, it would have a super low speed 1 like 300, 350 RPM to pump up its torque numbers, the easy way, simple gear reduction, but I guess not. That chunky midsection does come at a cost, however. It weighs in at 4 pounds 1.3 ounces bare, while the current gen weighs 3 pounds 9 ounces and the M18 just 3 pounds 5 ounces. Drills and impact drivers being the type of tool you might often have over your head or leaning awkwardly from a ladder, not my favorite category to be adding any weight at all, but I suppose it depends on what battery they package the tool with. We have no idea right now, but the DCD998 is supposed to love XR and is packaged with an 8 amp hour XR, and the DCD999 is supposed to love FlexVolt, despite being a 20 volt tool, and comes with a 3-row 18650 6 amp hour battery. So this, with something like a power stack, which they've been kitting more and more tools with to lighten the load, would be pretty cool, and we'll have to see how that power stack stacks up on the tool. So let's get into it. And yes, this prototype does, like the prototype DCF961 that we got, appear to be the real deal. Same ZU marked Rome chuck with carbide teeth, same additional slot for bit storage attachments, and the new soft push button interface at the bottom replacing slider switches. Our first test is just raw torque, which is measured on our brake dyno. We run the tool 3 to 5 times with each battery and show the median result on screen. This dyno measures pounds of force 1 foot away from center axis and is run automated with a push button toggle. Just pull the trigger and hold on until it stalls out. DeWALT drills are typically not very torque favored, more like running watts, which is how they rate their tools, but she's pretty girthy. Let's see how she gets on. .7 foot-pounds. That's not a lot. Well, it is a lot for a drill in the category, but not in this company, with an M18 Gen 4 and even DeWALT's current offering surpassing that with an equivalent kitted battery. We tested this many times, same result, but we don't know what this drill will come kitted with. Here's the 6 amp hour XR battery, which we found to perform pretty well. Other drills on screen using the same now. 41.2 foot-pounds. Now, that's more like it, passing anything yellow made to date, though not passing up the Milwaukee, which, in our experience, yeah, those are just very torque favoring. A 5 amp hour power stack on this tool makes 41.7, which we think is very possible coming in a kit with this tool. And a 9 amp hour flex volt, their punchiest battery, that doesn't make all that much difference here, 42.3 foot-pounds. Almost like taking a page out of Milwaukee's book here, we're seeing a big gap between a standard 5 amp hour and batteries that next step up, which is how we rank drills here, listing both. Now we're going to make a second DCD1007 entry right below here for a scenario where it's not kitted with a standard 5 amp hour XR battery to be able to see both options. This disparity here implies the motor is the thirsty one. That sort of thing makes me excited at what it might be able to do. Something this drill does, like the DCF961 with VTEC, is it sort of steps up into a turbo setting once you tax it enough. At maybe only 25% of its you feel it sort of kick into another gear. Much less dramatic than that impact, but if and when you own one of these, I think you'll be able to notice it kick on. It's sort of cool. Another party trick of this tool is its LED light. The new push button board has some options like off, on when and after trigger pull, and on for a full 20 minutes. And this LED is a bit noteworthy. We usually don't use our flashlight lumen sphere here for tools like drills and others because it's usually on the low end of even measurable. We're talking 3 to 5 lumens between yellow and red teams here. The new 007 is a flashy gent, 55 lumens. And when you're using a 5, 6, 8 amp hour battery, 20-minute mode might actually prove a useful work light that you can articulate where needed. Also, sort of cool. Back to the beans though, DeWalt rates their tools with unit watts out, and we do similarly, not like a precise pinpoint number of watts from the tool, but a comparable watts output between tools nonetheless. The more powerful ones, yeah, they make more. Watts is sort of like power at RPM instead of at the tool when it's stalling, which we find more often useful as a metric and harder to fool with simple gear ratios. In low, the new DCD1007 makes 630 watts, which is above Milwaukee and below their existing DCD998 and 999 drills with the batteries they're kitted with. Can't say we recommend a normal 5 amp hour pack for this tool, even though I know that's what most people are going to have laying around. With the 5 amp hour power stack, that all changes. We're talking a lot more knob turning here, 970 watts, which is, yeah, quite a change. And it wasn't done. 6 amp hour XR and 9 amp hour flex volt take this tool to 1010 and 1030 watts respectively, which is new record territory. It's definitely liking watts out. With the tool in high now for the first time, with our high mode dyno motor strapped on, the drill really isn't bogged down all that much when taxed, even with the 5 amp hour battery when looking at the RPM, but it does eventually cut out near 870 watts, about matching what the current models for sale see. In high, the 5 amp hour power stack is again going to bring this tool up to record-breaking territory, surpassing a kilowatt here, 1040 watts. The 6 amp hour also did similarly at 1060. But what's going to really push this tool up into the top of the charts and into the record book, topping every drill we've ever tested, is the 9 amp hour flex volt. It's debatable whether we use this battery on the scoreboard, and we'll get into that, but sometimes you just got to see what it can do, and that's going to be 1130 watts here. It gets rather hot, but altogether doesn't sound or feel all that fazed by this task, unlike some drills we've tested. Using this drill, you get the impression it's being expected to work this hard on a daily basis. So let's rank this thing and then take it apart to see how they achieve that. With a battery, the tool weighs 5.46 pounds, which starts it out in a deficit of 109 points to make up. The torque it made is listed here as a function of its length. It also gets points with 97 here. The Milwaukee, a shorter and torquier tool, it benefits from this category a lot. But watts out, that's recorded here in low with an included battery and the next step up in batteries, and in high here. That makes for these points here 117.2 points as a function of average watts made and its length. Definitely a power at speed focused tool, which is not new for this brand. We can only estimate price, but I would guess it would cost the same or more than their current models as a kit, who knows what. As a function of all these scores combined in price, that's 91.8 points. But let's for a moment suppose that the 5 amp hour XR battery is not the standard kitted battery, which I feel is a safe guess, and instead a 5 amp hour power stack battery is. And weight and price here being raised accordingly, Well, that would look like this, with some scores here increasing quite a lot because of the big difference we did see at times. And this all would total 698 here, or basically matching the M18 Gen 4, or 800 to 812 points here. Now that's depending on what it's kitted with. For example, we used 1130 watts here, which is what we got from a 9 amp hour flex volt, but that would only apply if it were the next step up in battery selection per our standard on this ranking. So there's some range that it could be. But either way, yeah, this would place it around or very much at the top of all drills sold today as we see it. No slouch, for sure. When you're taking apart a drill, there's no smoking gun to point to like there sort of can be with impact wrenches. The size of the hammer and spring in those speak to the power of the motor, being able to spin and reset it, and the weight of that hammer a very obvious measure of potential energy. Differences you'll see on these two drills, the DCD1007 and DCD1007, mainly come from a few changes. One, the drill motor has a ton of windings. Not sure if I've seen that much copper packed into a tool of this size before. It does stand out. Two, the windings are of a slightly thicker copper wire, it appears, and just a slightly larger diameter motor overall. Three, the brushless sensors go from being on the back of the DCD1007 in its own bracketry that is being incorporated into, and it goes from that to being located on the front of the motor in a much more efficient packaging of that sensor monitoring here. Then 4, yeah, this gearbox. The part you could already tell. I expected more of the overall size and weight of this new tool to be from the motor when taking this apart, but it's definitely from this monster gearbox. More metal, more mass, more size. That's usually not bad news from a durability aspect. Now, we don't suppose this drill is for everyone. Something for everyone from the brand we would suggest is the DCD800, or with hammer function DCD805, which is going to be a lot smaller, lighter, cheaper, and still do most anything you throw at it. Great drills to have around. But if you want a drill to be able to be everything from a mud mixer to a 6-inch hole saw to drilling 5/8 holes through steel, or just top every drill out there on the market because, well, you can, this may just do the trick for you. With 3 speeds to boot, which we find particularly useful on steel, tuning that drill speed to the drill bit size being used, it's actually pretty handy. It's a force to be reckoned with, and it looks the part like your dad's old corded monster that could break a wall stud with the handle when it catches on something, but in cordless form with some protections against maiming you. Appreciate you joining us. We make episodes every Friday. Click some stuff to be shown those sometimes, and thanks for watching.